Hey beauties, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be going over all four as well as doing a look with all of the Petits Fours Quads from Viseart. These four quads were sent to me from Viseart, but I picked up four more and these are for you guys. Well, we'll talk about that later. First, let's get into the details of each of these and let me show you guys the swatches. Then we will get into all four looks, and after that I'll give you guys my thoughts and we'll talk about these. The Petits Fours are inspired by delicious pastries, and a forewarning, the names are going to leave you hungry or with a sweet tooth or both. Definitely both. Each quad retails for $22. However, make sure you are checking around because as of right now, it is currently Black Friday, which would be yesterday for you guys. But right now on Viseart, these are on sale. So make sure that you're checking different sites so that you get the best deal. I'm going to start off with the chocolate one. You just slide it right out of its cardboard box. And then if you're familiar with the Edit palettes or the Petite Pros, you're familiar with this easel style packaging. And again, this is the chocolate one. And then this is Framboise. I called it Framboise for the longest time. And I looked it up and it said Framboise. I'm trying. I don't know that this is coming out correctly, but you can see it leans a little bit more on the purple side. It matches my hair. This is the one that I'm actually wearing on this eye. My personal favorite one, Praline. This is a good go-to everyday palette in my book. And then last but not least, the palette that I have on this eye, which is the Lilas palette. And this is a cool tone palette. There she is. All right, let me show you guys the swatches. Chocolate, a decadently rich palette of cocoa and honeycomb hues. Praline, a chic confection of almond, caramel, and cream shades and honeycomb hues. Framboise, a deliciously sweet souffle of luscious berries and cream. And then Lilas, the creme de la creme of luminous luxe. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the four eye looks, and then I'll give you guys my thoughts. Using the Petits Fours chocolate palette, I'm first going to take the shade Cafe Creme on a Zoeva 227. I'm going to start off by placing this color right on the outer corner of my crease. I'm going to go back and forth, and then I'm going to start working the shade upward. I'm going to use it as my transition shade. I'm going to build this up just a little bit, and when I do, I want to start in the crease and work upwards just like I did to begin with, because you don't want to have too much product right around the edges. So I take it, start in the crease, and then go upward so that it's more diffused right around the edge. Sonia G Mini Booster and Ganache. I'm going to place this lower on the outer corner lid into the crease. Add some depth with this shade. Adding a little bit more just to deepen it up just a little bit. And just to let you guys know, I am cleaning up the outer corner with a sponge. I do that a lot, but I don't always talk about it. So I just want to let you guys know that I'm doing that. Back in with the Zoeva 227, I'm just going to go right around the edges of the last shade. I didn't pick up any additional shadow. REPHR number 2, third shade in the palette. I'm applying this all over the front portion, middle part of the lid, going up to the crease, then lightly tapping over the last shade I laid down. I'm going to kind of push this a little bit further up. I know that like cut creases and everything are pretty trendy, but I don't know. I just like it to be a little blended upward versus a harsh line. And I've kind of been doing this, like, or take my head and kind of tilt it back and pushing the shimmer a little further up than what I even used to do. I just think it looks a little bit more seamless that way. It's just a personal preference. BK Beauty 206 and Pesh. Is it Pesh or Peshes? There's an S on the end of it, and I actually do not know. Like, I've heard Pesh, but I have not heard it with an S. Am I saying it incorrectly? I am highlighting the brow arch, but then I'm taking the excess and going right around the edges of the shadow as well, and that just helps to blend and merge the shades together. Of course, you don't want anything shimmery, then you could just really have it localized to this area right here. But I like to have a little bit of sheen. I don't mind it. Isam V31, and again going in with the first shade, Cafe Creme. And I'm going to take this and run it right along the lower lash line. And then with Ganache on the same brush, I'm going to take that and go just a little bit closer to the lower lashes. Isam V09 going in with the second shade. I'm going to apply this to the inner corner. REPHR number 3, and I'm going to apply this to the top lash line just to add a little bit of smokiness at the lashes. I will be adding on liner and mascara, but for now I'm going to go ahead and start on the other eye. Next up, I'm going in with the Praline Petits Fours, and I'm going to take the very last shade in the palette on a Smith 230. This shade is called Pecan, and I gotta tell you, this palette looks completely different to me than the pictures I saw online. Not in a bad way, it's just it looks less warm. It's a more neutral tone brown palette, I would say. Watch me get it on my eye and it's gonna look warm. But I am applying it to the outer corner first. I do not tap off my brush, and I do not set my eye base just in case anybody is new here. And I like to apply the shade and then start to blend it upward. Same as I did on the opposite side, but this time we started out even lower on the eye. And I'm just going to take circular motions and start working it upward. I'm going to focus this one more so on the outer corner and going upward instead of going all of the way in. Now I'm going to take the very first shade on a V33 from Isam. Again, this shade has a little bit of a sheen, so if you don't want to do this, you do not have to. Of course, you don't have to do any of these looks, but this is just what I prefer. I am taking this and going right around the edge of the last shade and then bringing this one a little bit further in. Yeah, this is definitely a neutral brown, and it's really nice because there's not a lot of palettes that have like this type of neutral color. I'm going to go back in with a little bit of Pecan on a Smith 230 again. I just want to deepen this up. If you see this spot right here, this is not a problem with the shadow. This is a problem with me and being too lazy to pluck my brows for a while. I messed up my, got really dry on my lids because of Retin-A. I didn't wash my hands. I put on my Retin-A and then I put on my eye cream and dried out my eyes. And then now I am sitting here using one of those little razors to clean up underneath my brow instead of plucking. I stopped doing that, but yeah, I get really dry underneath this part of my brow and I just, laziness. It's pure laziness on my part. I'm going in with Praline on a soft shader from Sonia G. And you guessed it, I'm putting this all over my lid, bringing it upward. And again, I'm going up a little bit. I'm going to wipe off my brush and kind of soften this area. Just going to go right around. I just wiped off my brush in my pants. Pick up the second shade in the palette. I'm going to use that to highlight my brow arch. It's a good, just monochromatic eye, which is exactly what I thought of whenever I saw this palette. Cleaning up with the sponge. REPHR number 3, going back in with Pecan. I'm going to take this right along the lower lash line. The next palette I'm dipping into is the Framboise. I'm going to take the very first shade on a Smith 230. Going straight into the crease, back and forth windshield wiper motions, and then working the shade upward. This is a very light shade, so it's going to be very easy for me to just kind of throw it on. Adding a bit more. REPHR number 14, last shade, which just so happens to be the same name as the palette. I'm going to pop this on the outer corner as well as the inner corner. Blend it's upward. I almost said slightly. So a little S came out, but nothing else. I'm going to create a slight halo eye. Just slowly blending this upward. I haven't picked up any more product, I'm just blending it out. Got a little bit of fallout with this one. Dipping back into that shade. I'm going to build this up a little bit. Mainly on the outer portion of the eye. Then I am deepening up the crease just a little bit more. Third shade in the palette on a MAC 221. I'm going to place this on the outer corner into the crease. Just kind of layering the shades. Going to go on the inner corner and just kind of work this all around, leaving the center of the lid blank. REPHR number 21, second shade in the palette. I'm first going to place this on the center of the lid and kind of tap out. I'm going to take the excess from my brush and go right underneath the brow arch. Pick up a little bit more, and we're going to build this up just a little bit. I'm going to take a BK Beauty 204 last shade right here on the outer corner. It's like it wasn't wanting to stick as well. So I'm going to tap it on with this brush. Same brush, third shade, and I'm going to take this right along the lower lash line. This time I'm using the shade Wet instead of Dry. Last palette of the day, the Lilas, and I'm going to take the shade Lilas. I'm using this on a Zoeva 227, I almost said a MAC 227. And I'm going to place this a little higher than my crease and blend it upward. I'm going to start taking the excess and bringing it in. I'm going to build this up just a little bit. Sonia G, Builder Pro, going in with Tiramisu. I am going to start packing this on the lid. And then I'm going to lightly bring it up into the crease. I didn't pick up any more product. I just kind of want to merge this into the lash shade we laid down, but without covering it up. No additional product on my 227. I'm just going to go right around the edges once more. I just like to make sure that everything is nice and blended together. REPHR number 21, first shade. I am going to lightly highlight my brow arch. I'm going to take my finger and kind of, I don't want this to be too intense, especially seeing as I don't have shimmer on my lid. So I'm just taking my finger and making sure that I kind of buff it out. And then I'm going to take the very last shade on a Bristles Beauty P06 RF, placing this on the front portion. Ooh, this is darker than I thought. Uh-oh, we don't want that. Ooh, scratch that. I'm taking a MAC 239S and the very first shade, and I'm going to cover that up. I'm just going to go right over that. I wish I hadn't done that because I liked I liked the little matte look, and then I just wanted a little bit on the front. I just anticipated that shimmer being lighter, and then it wasn't. Using that same brush, I'm going to pick up a little bit more of Tiramisu, and I am going to tap this on, kind of merge this shade in with the shimmer. Yeah, there we go. I don't want the inner corner to really take away from the way these two shades look together. I really like it. Back in with the Bristles Beauty P06 RF, last shade, and I'm going to use this wet. Just going to smudge a little of this right at the lash line on the outer half. I finished off both of these looks with Milk Boss liner and mascara, just like I did with the other two. Now let's talk about each individual palette. And I'm going to start off with my favorite, and that is Praline. This is the very first palette that I saw. And just like I mentioned in the tutorials, this one, it shocked me because I expected it to be a warm tone palette just based off pictures I saw online. But this is definitely a neutral palette. Like, this shade might be a little bit warm, but really it's a pretty neutral brown. And there's not a lot when it comes to neutral shades, especially in browns, at least not that I can think of off the top of my head. I have palettes, but not as many. I have so many warm tone palettes, and I'm starting to get quite a few cool tones, but true neutrals, especially browns, it's a little harder for me to find. So this, I already knew, like going into this, that these palettes were going to be a little bit more on the side of the monochromatic feel, and that's definitely what I was expecting out of this. And I really like it. I personally love a monochromatic eye and having different textures to just go across and just make a really beautiful eye that looks nice and sophisticated, but not overboard. It doesn't look like you put a whole lot of effort into it. This shade right here blended out very effortlessly. I was able to build it up where I needed it. And then this is a beautiful, I love a brow bone highlight. I really do. An inner corner, or you could put it all over the lid if you wanted to. You could do like a little halo eye and put that in. And then these two shades here, I think it's such a gorgeous palette. I put this one all over my lid, and it just gives you a nice amount of reflection without it being, it's not sheer, but it's not extremely in your face either. It's just right, like the perfect amount. This palette is something that I am going to get a lot of use out of. And yes, I didn't look, but these do come out. So if you wanted, you could take each of these and just put them in, take them out, switch them around, do whatever you want. And before I forget, I was shocked because these have 6 grams of product total, which makes each pan 1.5 grams. The Petits Fours, these have more shades, but they have less product per pan. These are 1 gram each. If you see, put these side by side. I was expecting, I think, this size with the Petits Fours, but they're not. It's a little bit bigger. Well, actually quite a bit bigger, 1.5 of these in this palette. And the same thing goes with the Edits palette. So you can see these are bigger. So again, Praline is definitely the favorite. There's nothing I would change about it. And I am definitely going to be using this quite a bit. For runner-up though, it's tied. And the reason for that is because one of them, I really like the color story, and it shocked me a little bit because when I looked at it, I was like, I don't know. But then the other one I think is a little bit more versatile. It definitely has a lot more pigmentation to it, and I think more people will end up being able to use it. And that is the chocolate one. I would say that Praline and the chocolate ones are the most pigmented. I would say that they're going to work on more skin tones, whereas these two aren't as much. They're a little bit lighter. This one, again, I was able to build, and the color story is gorgeous. I just don't use warm tones as much as I used to. I used to be all about it. It's not that I don't like them. I think this is a beautiful palette, and I definitely will use it. It's just that I like neutral and cooler tones, but this one is a really beautiful one. The Lilas, this look, very understated. You are not going to like this palette if you do not like a softer look, or if you do not like cool tones. Like, just don't pick this one up. But this one shocked me. I looked at it and I initially thought, oh no, like I just don't think this is going to show up on me. But it does. It's not super duper pigmented, but for what it is, I didn't have any patchiness. I didn't have any issues. Like, both of these matte shades went on so beautifully. If you wanted to give a little bit more zhuzh, a little shine to the lid, have it be a little bit deeper, do not put this on your inner corner for this eye look. You could put this on the inner corner, but not for this. I should have swatched it first. But do you see this? It is so pretty. I really like this shade, and I kind of want to, yeah, I think it would be so pretty just to have this all blown out all over and then blend out the edges with one of these or both and then highlight with this one. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous palette, but I'm telling you, this is very soft, which I'm sure you guys can tell. It's very subtle on my eyes. This is not going to work on somebody that has really, I mean, probably no darker than an NC30. I think that it's kind of be pushing it to try to do really even NC30. I'm not an NC30 right now. My summer tan is gone. I'm about NC25, I think, NC25. So much darker than me. This palette is not going to work, but also keep in mind that it is very soft, but I really like it. When I looked at it, I was like, I don't know, but then there's just something about it that I really enjoy. The last one is not my favorite. There's definitely palettes that I would prefer from Viseart in comparison to this one. Looking at it, I love the colors, but looking at my eye, it's just not my favorite. I don't see a lot of the shine from this shade, which is fine because I did apply it with a blending brush, but at the same time, usually if I do that, I can see something. But these two shades kind of end up going together and looking just like one shade. This one is very light again, so if you're darker than me, like, this isn't going to show up. I wouldn't even push it to the NC30. This one is not going to show up. Unless, of course, you go in with a lighter eyeshadow base, then you could get it to work, but it's just something that I wouldn't push. If you're darker than me, this isn't a palette that I would suggest. And then this shade is pretty, but it's kind of dry. It's a little dry. This one, kind of the same. It's just the other ones, when you touch them, they're much creamier. This one is a little bit of a disappointment in my book. And then I had issues, and I think you guys can still see it. It's like it's not adhering as well. This one is just not my favorite. I would suggest, if you like these tones, the Paris Edit, this little beauty right here. Let me show you just side by side. So you can see they're not the same, but it's just, if I was gonna look for these type of tones, I would go with this one. or the Rosé Edit. I do think the Paris one is closer, but this one has like this little quad right here. So you could use this shade, you could go in with this one, you could lighten it up by mixing these two, and then you have a nice highlight shade in here. But this one, yeah, it's just not my favorite out of the bunch. Final thoughts, skip the Framboise, the one that's hard to pronounce, skip that one. Only get the Lilas if you want a softer cool tone look, and then the other two are pretty easy peasy. If you want a warm tone look, I would go with the chocolate, and let me just show you so you can see the comparison. Like this one has like, it's just shiny. It's shiny and pretty. Or the Praline if you want something a little bit more neutral. And I just want to show you again. Like these are just, they're better. I don't know what happened with the other one, but it's just not my favorite. I mean, meh. Anywho, beauties, that is it for my thoughts. Now let's get into the fun, the giveaway. So I have all 4 here, and I'm going to give it to one of you beauties. So all you have to do is comment, let me know that you would like to win the giveaway, and leave me a way to get in touch with you. An email or Instagram works best, and I will pick a winner in a week. So a week from today, I will have the official date and all the information in the description box. A week from today, a winner will be chosen at 12 p.m. Central, and you have 24 hours to respond, and it is international. Again, all the information is in the description box. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye, guys.